Go ahead and call the special city council meeting of December 27th to order. Please stand for the invocation. Bobby Campbell.
Father God, for this season, we thank you. We thank you, God, for how you continue to bless us and keep us. God, we continue to bless us better than we deserve. We thank you for your mercy and for your grace. Continue to bless our leaders. Bless this council. Be with each and every one of them. Bless the staff of our city. Bless our mayor. Continue to watch over us. Bless us, Lord, as we get ready to get prepared for this new season and this new year. Thank you, God, for what you've done for us this year. Continue to bless us and keep us. We pray that your blessings will have a wonderful 2013. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Yes. Council Vice President Sayers. Here. Councilperson Gill. Here. Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Council President Zastavny.
Here.
Councilperson Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record show that Councilperson Smith and Councilperson Payne are here.
Here comes Councilperson Payne.
He's injured.
Let me go back to say that Councilperson Payne is here. He has a
Councilperson Smith had an emergency he had to leave for. Next up is approval of the agenda. Is there any changes, additions, deletions?
Is there any way we can, Mr. Pierce, first person, you still do over at the other building at Lowcroft?
I believe it's 1:30.
1:30? Okay, then I'm just going to leave it the same. I was going to move those motions up because I knew that he had to be over at the court at 1. We good. So if you think we can get to them, we can leave them where they are.
Move along, I think there'll be time.
Okay.
I can move it.
Motion to approve agenda.
Second. We have a motion second to approve the agenda as presented. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes to be approved. Motion to approve the minutes from December the 17th. Second. Motion second to approve the minutes of December 17th. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Claims to be approved. I don't see that there's one claim. Is there other? Others? Oh, there's?
Yeah.
Okay. Claims.
Requesting approval for general claims totaling $137,874.24. This includes one hand-carried claim from Jacoby Tombs and Lands for $16,630.40.
Annie, can you say it total again, please?
Yes.
37 what?
$137,874.24.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion second to approve the claims. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Mayor's comment. Mayor not here. Report of the clerk.
Only thing is, just to bring up, I have the claim in y'all's packet again in regards to JTL for the, looks like it's been,
Yeah, she just said that.
Can we just
I gave it to her. Oh, okay.
approve that, didn't
All
we?
right, wait a minute, I didn't know it was approved. Never mind.
Is that it?
That's it, sir.
Department head report. Any department heads? Seeing none. Unfinished business. Timeline. Resolution 2012. Do you have a resolution number for that? Roy, the intercity road economic development plan?
This would be 24.
And is this the little one or the big one?
Scott fixed it. The little one.
Is this timeline or is it Scott?
For your direction, I know Les was out of town last few weeks, so I worked with Buddy Downs, just clarified this, finalizing this morning. Spoke with him yesterday, he was out of the office, so we kind of finalized this. So which one are we doing first?
Intercity road.
That's 24? Okay, pursuant to the council's concerns, even my concerns, we thought there was some ambiguity in the particular resolution, amending the plan as to what was the 2012 plan. I think our concern was that we wanted to be very clear that we weren't leaving the language open, that someone could point to another plan with other projects. So what we did, we made some minor changes, but I think this solves our problem. And Buddy Down signed off on it, just let us know. In paragraph 3, the third paragraph on page 1, the whereas on November 27, 2012, the commission adopted, what we added on the second line, we added the clause, changed it for the sole purpose of amending the plan to add 2 specific projects, which include the construction of a police station and stormwater conveyance improvements. So what we added was the sole purpose in the language to add 2 specific projects. And then at the end of the paragraph, in parentheses, we defined that hereinafter referred to as the 2012 plan. So the plan is the 2 specific projects as amendments to the plan. And then the other parts that we added was on the first page, paragraph 1, when it talks about the actions that the council's approving that we're resolving, when it refers to the 2012 plan, that first part of the sentence was left the same, which says, and confirmed by the common council. In the original resolution, there was a period there, but we added, just for definition purposes, and the 2012 plan only includes those projects previously approved prior to January 1st, 2012, and the 2 specific projects, i.e., the police station and the stormwater conveyance improvements, which are included in the amendments to the 2012 plan. So, because it's less explained than Buddy explained, the 2012 plan, that technically includes all 5 plans, and when you amend it this year, it calls the 2012 plan all of the existing plans plus whatever's being amended. So we wanted to be clear because it's our understanding what we're approving. The only 2 new projects that we're putting into an amended plan are the police station and stormwater conveyance improvements. So we have that language. The 2012 plans include any of those prior plans prior to January 1st, 2012. Okay? So it's very clear from the face of this, there's no other amendments or projects after January 1st, 2012 other than the police station and the stormwater conveyance improvements. Okay? So those were the 2 changes where we added that specific language to narrow it down, where I believe there can't be any ambiguity or any gray area as to what is that 2012 plan. Buddy looked at that. I spoke with him on the phone, and we emailed that back and forth.
They take that line off.
That's the other resolution.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to, if you want to do one at a time or both of them. or
Yes,
just start with
please.
One at a time.
Okay.
You happy to entertain my motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 24.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have motion second to pass 2012 R24. Any discussion? I'm sorry. These go hand in hand, don't they? So, or are they independent?
Well, they're separate resolutions.
Because they're separate tips.
Yeah, they're separate, so it's best to probably do it one at a time.
Okay.
I just have one question.
Yes.
It says adding to the plan. And do we really have a plan to add to?
Well, the plan, I mean, the plan is like everything that may have been done prior to the amendment. In my understanding, there's not been anything new in 2012, so the question is, what has previous councils and previous redevelopment commissions approved as redevelopment plans?
I mean, at some point, we need to get a plan in our hand. That's my only reservation to something.
Well, what will happen is that the projects that are being discussed by the redevelopment commission, those will be brought before the redevelopment commission and eventually the planning commission and the city council to amend the plan. This year will be the 2013 plan to include those projects. So I guess when we say plan, it's not like it's a real detailed plan on these development plans. It just lists the projects. So I understand what you're saying, Dennis, but I mean, plans are not that deep, they just list the projects. For example, Big Four Station will have to come back to the same process, through this process, and list what the Big Four Station project is.
I mean, my best guess, Dennis, to be honest, because I think the statute was changed in '08, where amendment of the plan from the redevelopment commission had to go back before a plan commission and a city council. My guess is, to be honest, that's probably never been done. Okay. I seriously doubt whether there actually is a plan. I mean, the redevelopment may have voted in the past to do projects, and maybe they call that a plan, but my guess is there's probably not a...
Well, I guess that's where I go back to adding to a plan that really doesn't exist.
Well,
So,
there are plans, for example, I mean, when they did, when they did the harbors and all that down there, that was in the plan. When they did, infrastructure for Veterans Park, that was in the plan. But up until 2008, redevelopment commission just amended the plan, and that was it. So I think Scott's right. I think since 2008, things have been done, and it should have been, the plan was never amended.
But, I mean, at least what I was instructed to do was to try to specify the language where this 2012 plan would only include, for this year, the police station and the stormwater conveyance improvements, and to draft it where there was no other interpretation that there was any other projects that could be. So when we say, but I think technically, because the plans are amended and they include all prior plans to keep those projects going.
Yeah,
the way you got because you got bonds. So the thing is, the way we have it worded, the 2012 plan also includes any of those projects that were approved prior to January 1st, 2012. So then I think that alleviates the concern of the council that there's no other projects starting January 1st and beyond of 2012 other than these two. There's no other projects that can be included. So you have to kind of incorporate that language pursuant to Buddy Downs, that you have to still say the 2012 plans includes those prior projects from past years, because there's still bonds being paid on those.
okay.
So,
Any other questions or discussion? Oh, I'll make a roll call vote if we could.
Sure. Councilperson Payne?
Yes?
Council Vice President Sellers? Yes. Councilperson Gill? Yes. Councilperson Glover?
Yes.
Council President Zastavny?
Yes.
Councilperson Julius?
Yes.
Councilperson Owen?
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel?
Yes.
Let the record show that it passed.
All right. Next up, I imagine, Mr. Lewis, you're going to take 2012 R25? Is it R25, I imagine?
Yes, sir.
Resolution? Okay.
yes, and this is it's basically almost identical to the intercity road resolution clarifying the economic development plan. This one here both amends the redevelopment plan, but also, as explained at the prior meeting, it clarifies previous TIP pledge, because in previous bond ordinances going back to 2006, for one of the projects there, and Les may clarify some of this, but apparently it pledged money from all TIPs, and that was too broad of a pledge to go forward with these current projects, but you have to specify more, you have to narrow the scope of the TIP pledge. So we really didn't change any of that language. That to sell these bonds, you have to clarify the narrowing of the scope of the TIP pledge. But then also what we amended here, it's basically the exact amended language that we did with the resolution we just discussed in the third paragraph, the third whereas paragraph, amended the language when it speaks about the 2012 plan. That's being amended for the sole purpose of amending the plan to add two specific projects, which include the construction of the police station and the stormwater conveyance improvement. So that's identical language that we did with Resolution 24. And then when you go to page 2, paragraph 1, when you go into the actions the council is doing, the now therefore be it resolved, we have that exact same language that I just discussed with Resolution 24, that we're also clarifying specifically that the 2012 plan only includes those projects previously approved prior to January 1st, 2012, and the two specific projects, i.e. the police station and the stormwater conveyance improvements, which are included in the amendments to the plan. And then the other change we made, which was also brought up at the last meeting, would have been paragraph 5, the way it was originally worded was all actions of the council in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. And there was concern that that was too broad, that somehow that may be interpreted, that any other actions we took regarding projects may repeal those items. So, in agreement with Betty Downs, what that was referred to when it says all actions of the council in conflict herewith are repealed, that referred specifically to that language about the tax increment pledge, how that's being pledged. So I added the clause, all actions of the council in conflict, because it's what's added solely in regard to the pledge of tax increment herewith are hereby repealed. So that refers to past bond ordinances and how the language was too broad on pledging all TIFs rather than from this specific TIF. So I think that alleviates that concern there. I think Matt was the one that brought that up. So those were the changes we made for Resolution 25.
I have a question.
Yes.
When the purpose of these resolutions is, it's coming to us because we need to approve, is that something that we've set ourselves for ourselves, or is that a statutory?
Statutory. Back in 2008, the Indiana statute was amended, which says that any sort, whether you establish a new plan or amending an existing plan for redevelopment districts, that those amendments or establishing the plan must first go before the Plan Commission for approval, and after the Plan Commission approves, then it comes before the City Council for approval to finalize that. So this is a statutory procedural step. So these are amending the plan, but in the actual bond ordinance themselves, those are going to be separate ordinances that will come back before the council as any other bond ordinance. So after we do this, the bond ordinances themselves will come back. For the police station, yeah, the other one, the other bond ordinance for the stormwater was approved in December 2011. Yeah.
But Scott,
Yes.
and this Falls Landing, which I know the other one, we had two specific projects, which was the police station and the interceptor, or the convenience, or whatever. For this one, is this just so we can replenish that TIF, because, is that what that, so the rest of that money, we replenish the TIF, so the rest of the money just sits there till we approve a project for it? Is that correct?
Yes.
Those bonds don't get sold. The rest of the bond doesn't get
Until
sold.
we approve the next.
Some of the portions of the
For the reimbursement of the property acquisition, which is like
Okay.
approximately $9.5 million, I believe, was the amount.
So they gotta come down here. Get the rest of that. Is this gonna be 25?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. You happy to entertain a motion? I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to pass 2012 R25. Any other discussion? Go ahead and do a roll call vote, please.
Councilperson Payne,
Yes.
Council Vice President Seller,
Yes.
Councilperson Gill,
Yes.
Councilperson Glover,
Yes.
Council President Zastavny,
Yes.
Councilperson Julius,
Yes.
Councilperson Owen,
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Scott, thanks for the clarification. Yes, thank you. Next up, Amy Deering, 2012 R69, ordinance fixing the salary of elected officials.
The salary is to fix, or this ordinance is to fix the salary of elected officials for 2013. It was passed on the first and second readings.
Nothing changed?
No.
Motion approved 2012 R69 on the third and final.
Second.
And motion second to pass 2012 OR69 on third and final reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
New business, Scott Lewis. You got
We have
63. I'm sorry, I got past there. Yeah, Amy, back up 2012 OR63, an ordinance establishing the Parks Activity Non-Reverting Fund.
Yes, this was also passed on the second reading. I believe there was some revision of verbiage.
Yeah, for Scott's request, I went ahead and we are not repealing the ordinances that are currently on the books, that was given to the Park Department twice. They will stay, it's just going to stay, the money that is going to be collected is going to be new non-30.
Under number 8, you have all other provisions of this ordinance shall remain in effect with the exception of funds collected shall be deposited into the police non-reverting fund. You need parks.
Three parts.
But the police would be happy.
Motion to approve with change.
Second.
A motion second to pass 2012 OR 63 with that one change, changing on line number 8, and paragraph number 8, striking out police and adding parks non-reverting fund.
Meet consistent parks activities. And I think that's what it's there.
Should we parks activity, non-reverting funds?
Instead of police non-reverting fund, it should say parks activities non-reverting fund.
Oh, parks activities non-reverting fund, so just parks non-reverting fund.
Okay. Any discussion? I'd like to say one thing. I understand what's trying to be done here, but on the other hand, I also like the fact of having these funds separated. Because once we do this, then certainly if money comes in from the football project, it could be spent on the aquatic center. And if money comes in from the aquatic center, it could be put in Crowley. Just saying, I know from a financial accounting standpoint, it's so much easier. But from a management standpoint, it's confusing. It could be confusing on the council's part, and you can move this money around where right now you can't.
That's correct. It will be separated by department codes, so the detail will be available if requested for each specific area.
You wouldn't have to pass it. I know.
Well,
I know. Any other discussion? Is that what we're saying? I'm just sharing my opinion on one of the issues I have with this. I mean, I'm not sure where you guys want to go with this one, but ultimately, we still have oversight, with
I think the big thing is if we can track the money coming into the different activities, and say football has been in the positive of a couple $1,000 and you have something you want to do, it makes you lend yourself more to want to spend it on that than if it was in the hole.
Right.
So I know where you're going, but I do like the ability to at least track it instead of just commingling all the funds.
Right.
So,
when we get, when we request, what's it called, sheet with all the accounts on it, the fund reports,
Yes.
is that breakdown going to be on those fund reports?
it can be.
It can be.
Currently, it's at a fund level, but we can provide the detail if you would like to see that.
Any other discussion?
I have a question. I don't know if anybody in here works with the football league, but do they have like their own treasurer or somebody that keeps a record so they know how much funding they have in theirs?
No, we've taken on that responsibility.
So if we make a mistake, it's going to be, which happens.
Well,
It'd be difficult to have.
Yeah, we're the holders of the money. They collect it and it comes to us. And I think that's part of the comfort level for when they came here, is that they were able to keep track of their own finances. And we still would be able to do that. But if the reports come out at a high level, we won't be able to see the detail. And I could see down the road that might be an issue, but maybe not today.
I'm changing my mind now.
Well, the only thing, like I said, when we went through the whole process of the budget, we were able to look at one of those things that said, this fund is sitting here with this amount of money, and we budgeted this, and it has this, extra set of funds, or we won't budget that much money. I think when it comes to the budgeting process for next year, we'll probably have to have that detail from 30,000 foot level, but really drill down into it. So I think that as long as the controller is willing to provide that information in a timely fashion, I think we can still go through the budgeting process pretty easy.
And it is budgeted by appropriation line, so that detail will be there.
I would feel comfortable with that.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Now, new business, thank you. Scott Lewis, a resolution establishing and funding the duties of the city clerk and as clerk of Jeffersonville City Court. Now, I know that the judge is also here to talk about these issues. Do you want to talk about after or before? Judge?
Oh, yeah, well, I'll go ahead and defer.
All right, thank you.
We're doing these, I think there was a misprint on the docket, or the agenda, which is the ordinance. We're doing this resolution.
It's
Yeah, which number are we on?
Becky, it will be number 26.
626, yes. Yes, on the agenda, these were two prior resolutions that were originally prepared by Corporation Counsel Tom Lau, that were on the agenda before, but were withdrawn before any action. And so they're back on the agenda, and there are a couple revisions which I added to the original drafts that Mr. Lau had prepared, referencing the November 20th, 2012 written opinion of the Indiana State Board of Accounts. So other than that, these are basically the same resolutions that were previously prepared. So the one before, the first one, number 26, establishing and affirming the duties of the city clerk as clerk of the Jeffersonville City Court, we're just citing the Indiana Code that says in a second-class city, the city clerk shall serve as the clerk of the city court. And it also refers to the Indiana State Board of Accounts written opinion, which confirms that the city clerk shall serve as the clerk of the city court. And we're also saying that the council is desirous of complying with that written opinion of the Indiana State Board of Accounts. So this resolution would officially recognize the city clerk as the clerk of the court, and that the city clerk is directed to receive any and all payments for court costs, fees, probation fees, and all other monies collected by and through Jeffersonville City Court. That the city court judge is directed to cooperate in the transition of the city clerk, in the transition of the clerk of court duties to the city clerk. And also 4, that the city court judge and the city court clerk are directed that the city court shall utilize only the city's bank accounts, which are administered by and through the city's fiscal officer / controller, which of course is Ms. Harmon. The city court shall transfer all funds currently held in the city court's bank accounts, which are not administered by the city's fiscal officer and controller, to the city's bank accounts, which are administered by the city's fiscal officer and controller. And then upon the transfer of said funds from those bank accounts administered by city court to those accounts administered by the fiscal officer and controller, then that other bank account would be closed. So that is the resolution before the council.
Comment. Before our last meeting, we had a meeting set up with the 4 of us, Ed, Lisa, Connie, and myself, with the judge and his attorneys, and the clerk and her attorneys. Maybe there's another attorney sprinkled in there, I don't remember who all, but that was, the U.S. Tom was in there, I think. And we had, the next 2 resolutions, to my understanding, we had it worked out, where space was addressed and the duties were addressed. Everybody was in agreement, the clerk is the clerk, then the clerk is the clerk of the court. Everybody was in agreement on that. I believe we all were in agreement on office space. And then there was some circumstances happened, and it somewhat blew that up, but I don't believe it blew up the agreement. And so I'm concerned about that. And so I guess I would ask the others their thought, but I would make a motion that we table this until we determine if we have an agreement or not.
May I just address that real quick? Just I understand Nathan's concern, where he doesn't want to be in the appearance of violating the agreement, but I was there, my understanding was there was a tentative agreement reached between the clerk and the judge, and that it would be subject to a written agreement. Well, before that happened, the judge filed a lawsuit against the city clerk as well as the city controller, the fiscal officer, and I've been informed by Ms. Conlon's counsel that that tentative agreement was between the clerk and the judge, and then by the fact that a lawsuit then was filed against the clerk, I've been instructed by her counsel that there is no agreement. I mean, nothing was reduced to writing. There was a tentative agreement reached verbally, I agree, subject to it being reduced to writing. That did not happen because of what I was told was the lawsuit against the clerk. So, I mean, so as far as, and I understand Nathan's concern, to think that we're going to be in violation of some agreement by passing this, there is no agreement because nothing was put down in writing. It was tentatively subject to a written agreement.
And I would say, Mr. Samuel, that number one, I wasn't invited to the meeting you're referencing, wasn't made aware of it until after the fact. But I spoke with a couple of people that were at that meeting, and it seems that there were two different opinions as to what was agreed upon. Or there wasn't a consensus as to what was agreed upon.
Let me say that there was 4 council people there, so we couldn't have anyone else. But that Mr. Lau was there and volunteered to put our agreement, our understanding in writing, to be signed and to be, formalized at a later date, which never occurred. So, I'm in the same position, and I guess I'm in the same thought process as Nathan on this, that I feel like the council was party to that agreement, as far as moving 2 people over from the clerk, from the judge to the clerk, and for providing space, where the council's responsibilities, I think, is required to be involved in this process. But I wish it did go in writing, and I wish that it would have been easier to understand exactly what the agreement was for everybody to see with a written word, but that didn't happen. So I think we're here today, in my opinion, going against what we agreed to in that meeting.
Well, and just legally, just to be clear, so no one alleges that there was a violation of open door law, there were only 4 members of the council there. 4 members, not a majority, cannot even vote to agree to an agreement. That has to be approved by, so clearly there was no agreement.
I believe you're going against what I agreed to.
Okay.
As a council.
I'm just trying to protect you guys. I don't want there to be a misperception that somehow there was an illegal vote or some sort of agreement entered into by only 4 members.
Right. And there was no vote, and we can't represent the council. There's only 4 people. I'm talking myself. That I feel like we're going against what I agreed to in that meeting, and I think against what the 4 people that were there were agreeing to.
Scott, this seems to me like, absence of this agreement that was tentatively reached, that seems to have been now null and void. This to me seems like we as a council are taking the appropriate steps just to say this is what we believe that we should be doing, that both parties should be doing, and it seems to me that we are covering ourselves as a council to make sure that we are following state statute. Regardless of how that court case is settled amongst those 2 parties, we are doing our duties with this resolution right here. Is that correct?
In my opinion, absolutely. The council, by statute, we are both the fiscal body and the legislative body. There has been a change in the classification of the city as a second-class city. It's clear, pursuant to the Indiana Code, State Board of Accounts opinion is very clear. So I believe, first of all, this is within our statutory duty to pass such a resolution. But secondly, we basically have to acknowledge that opinion and comply with that opinion to make sure that all the steps and procedures are followed pursuant to the law and pursuant to State Board of Accounts opinion. Now that they've issued an opinion out there, I think if we don't act like that, take these sort of actions, they could write us up by not following their opinion. So.
And Scott, that state statute says that the clerk is the clerk of the court, and as far as collecting the probation fees, it says and or, according to which she can and.
It says and or, and I believe that since we are the legislative and fiscal body, we have the power to enact such a resolution to do so.
I had, I'm sorry, I keep on recess. I had Mr. Lau look up second-class cities and what the jobs of the clerks of the courts were. And he said he contacted 8 other, I put this before you, so everybody has it, and I gave a copy to the clerk. He contacted 8 other second-class cities: Anderson, East Chicago, Elkhart, Gary, Hannah, Mary, Muncie, and Terre Haute. And in all 8, the clerk has the normal duties that is specified in here. 7 of the 8 courts have probation office, Terre Haute does not. Of those 7 courts that do have a probation office, 3 of them, East Chicago, Gary, Marion, have the probation office collect the probation fees. The other 4 courts, Anderson, Elkhart, Hannah, and Muncie, have the clerk's office collect the probation fees. So it's not unheard of, and it's, a practice that's been going on. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, I think, this is just my opinion, I think it's time that we take the action that we need to take as a council, and the parties that are still involved in whatever lawsuit, let them argue that case outside of this council. Let us control what we can control, and what happens outside of this council room, so be it. But, it's time to put this to bed and move forward. I mean, we've been fighting this for a year, and nothing seems to have been resolved, and how long do we let it linger?
Any comments on the council? We have a motion on the floor to table. Is there a second? Now, second.
Scott. Am I able to second a motion as president?
I believe you can second, you can't make the initial
No,
motion.
I'll second the motion. Any other discussion? Ask for a roll call vote.
Councilperson Payne? To table.
To table.
Oh, no.
Council Vice President Sellers? No. Councilperson Gill?
No.
Councilperson Glover?
No.
Council President Stopney?
Yes?
Councilperson Julius?
No.
Councilperson Owen?
No.
Councilperson Seaman?
Yes.
6 noes.
Is there another motion that the council would like to make regarding this issue? Motion to approve 2012 R26.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to pass 2012 R26. Any other discussion? Well, before we vote, I'm sorry, Judge, you're right. I did not have a chance to give the judge advance notice of this resolution. It was my fault. But for the holidays, I said I would reach out to the judge, and I forgot to. So I told him I'd give him a chance to speak in front of the council. So, Judge, you said before we
And
vote,
just to
please.
let y'all know, he did receive a copy this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
He told me that.
Copy this morning. I asked for it last week and didn't get that. So, good afternoon, council. Once again, sorry to be before you again. Couple matters I would like to resolve. I would appreciate a table on this issue since I didn't receive these till this morning, so I've had approximately 2 or 3 hours to prepare these and go through them. Briefly, there are some distinct differences in the resolutions that are offered before the council. I've searched to try and find a copy of the last resolution that was offered. I don't think that the bank account issue was as much what was in the last one. I believe it was just that the clerk collect everything and that the judge be directed to honor that. You will not have a problem with me on these issues. I've met with all you guys before. I've told you whatever the State Board of Accounts said to do, I will do. I believe the State Board of Accounts does. In the letter, State Board of Accounts says, subject to a situation where the statute clearly indicates that another party, such as the probation department, is to perform the task. Now, we understand what the word "is" means. I mean, learned it 100 times. Is to perform the task. Okay, it's the very last paragraph in the letter from the State Board of Accounts that the council, in this very resolution here, says they further desire to comply with the State Board of Accounts written opinion issued November 20, 2012. Now, that's their opinion. I think strict compliance with that opinion would say, we would take the position that the duties listed above should be carried out by the city clerk, subject to a situation where the statute clearly indicates that another party, such as the probation department, is to perform the task. It's very clear. In my opinion, I don't have the opportunity to review the research that you did or Mr. Rao did at all. I know Greenwood is a second-class city, and they have a city court as well, and they have a probation department. And I believe that their probation department collects money as well. Is Greenwood on your list?
No, he only did 8, but there was 4 cities who are second-class cities who also collect the probation.
I understand.
That's all I wanted to know, is were there other cities, and that's all, that was between Mr. Rao and myself.
And I can address that. In the email, I specifically did not include Greenwood because they're going through the same transition that we are right now, from a third-class to a second-class city. They didn't really have any history behind it, which is why I didn't include them. Now, I don't mind including them, but they're making the same transition that we are.
Like I said, and that's another one. I believe the judge over there has his own probation department. He intends to collect the probation users' fees as well. I have not talked to him the past 2 weeks. The last I talked to him, that was his intention. So that means that of the 8 that are out there, 4 collecting through the court, 4 collecting through the clerk. I don't know if the other judges had an agreement on that or not. I believe it is the judge's discretion on this matter. As a matter of fact, in the newspaper article, which several of you may have read, it was back, I believe, on December the 11th. Charlie Pryor was actually interviewed by a local reporter and stated that, however, he says with regard to the probation users' fees, however, he added, it would be our recommendation that the court would decide whether or not to collect the probation fee. It actually says whether or not collect the probation fee, but I'm guessing that's a typo. So it would be our recommendation that the court would decide that. Okay? Once again, this is State Board of Accounts Officer Charlie Pride. I'm sure we're all familiar with Charlie Pride. Other than that, the bank account issue, the court's been in existence for over 50 years. The bank accounts have always been approved by the State Board of Accounts. I have no problem with where they are. They've advised us to keep these accounts separate and distinct for their own purposes. I don't care what bank has it. I don't care who oversees that part. If it has to go through the city fund, if it goes to the court fund, it doesn't matter. So I'm confused as to what the big concern is with this issue. I can assure you that everything that comes into the court is put in the account. You guys approve it. Everything that gets spent out of that court, you guys approve. And then I go ahead and sign the claim, waivers for it. That's all that happens there. If there's another issue, I'd love to know about it. So, but with regard to the resolution before us right now, this does not commemorate or memorialize the agreements that were reached at that meeting, I believe, 2 weeks ago. I will say that the agreement in my eyes is still an agreement. When I give my word I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I intend to do it. I even said in the newspaper article that was published last week, I do believe that there was a breach of trust. I've told you all that. I do believe there was. However, I did say further that when asked if the agreement was going to still go through, when asked if filing the complaint will affect the agreement previously reached between the two parties, Pierce said, I hope not, but I can assure you there's been a breach of trust. And I stand behind that. I do feel like there's been a breach of trust. I wasn't contacted when these records were taken from me. As the city officer in charge of that office, I think I deserve the right to be contacted. That's it. So, other than that, I intend to honor the agreement. I believe there was an issue with regard to an architect. I said I've contacted an architect. After the meeting where the agreement was reached, Councilperson Samuel and Councilperson Stani said, hey, we'll talk about what your ideas are. We all walked down here. As a matter of fact, while we were down here, Ms. Collins' attorney even showed up while we were down there. And we came down here and looked around, and I kind of said, well, here's what we could do, or this and that. And then both the councilpersons, right, you may just want to contact an architect, because I think we, the three of us, know about as much as, actually know nothing about architecture. So I contacted Hal Covert. He came through and talked to me for free, no probation dollars, no city dollars, nothing to spend. I said, how best do I do this for the cheapest amount of money to make everybody happy and without moving structural walls or anything else? And he said, you put a wall here, put a window back there, resolve it. He said, do I need any special licenses, permits, or whatever else? You guys know what would be necessary than I do. Do I need anything at all, Hal? No, sir. I immediately contacted Russ Seagraves. Apparently there was something going on upstairs with another door being moved out of that room upstairs. Russ said, Ken, as soon as he's up there, I'm moving down to your spot. Okay, I said, of course, because I thought I had an agreement, and direction by not the council. I apologize if I disrespected you guys by doing that, but I was talking to council members figuring out how to best do this, and I was trying to go ahead and get it done by January 1st. And that date was proposed by Ms. Collins' attorney the first time he spoke before you guys, not me. So by January 1st, I was going to try and have that accomplished. Okay? My chambers were going to be completely vacated by that date. I was going to see what desks Ms. Collins wanted back there, put out, because obviously there's spare desks there. Put those back there and have that taken care of. And build one wall. So I've made an agreement. I made an agreement before, 10, 12 people maybe? I don't know how many were in that room. You're right, it was a lot. And I made that agreement. I've made substantial steps in furtherance of that agreement, and I'm trying to honor that agreement. Okay? I think that there's an overstepping of bounds on the ordinance, on the resolution issue. Okay? With regard to what I have within the court's discretion to do. And so, to that extent, there's the separation of powers issue that everybody talks about, and the whole elephant in the room that we could all discuss and go back and forth on. I was left with no alternative but to proceed as we discussed a week ago. Okay? I have records that were in that court. Now, I'm the custodian of those records when they're in that office. When the State Board of Accounts was knocking on my door asking me where these records are, what happened to them, how I lost track of them, and so forth, I'm responsible. Okay, so I need to show the State Board of Accounts that I've made an honest and dutiful effort to keep track of those records and get them back. The agreement all year long has been, I will maintain these records from day one, because Ms. Collins and I spoke, and she said she didn't have enough employees to do the work. I said, from day one, I will go ahead and carry this responsibility throughout the year until council and you resolve the employee issues. That's straightforward. There's a letter that was submitted to her with that exact same, I guess, idea. It was a very short letter that says, I'm going to continue in all court clerk activities and responsibilities until this is resolved, and we all discussed January 1st being the date. So that's why I'm so shocked at this. All year long, I thought I was kind of being the tape holding all this together, and then slowly as the year progressed and went on, things started unraveling. Okay? So the only issue I've had...
Regarding this resolution that we're considering, is there, what is it in this resolution that you disagree with, or you'd like to see changed, or is it the whole thing?
I don't believe, and this is with all due respect, okay, I'm not trying to be adversarial here. I don't believe that the council has the authority to direct who collects the probation fees based on, it statute says this or this, okay? I agree, it says probation department or clerk, okay? But the council's also getting ready and initiated a resolution saying they're trying to follow the honor and integrity of the State Board of Accounts opinion here. The State Board of Accounts opinion says she shall do all these duties subject to a situation where the statute clearly indicates that another party, such as the probation department, is to perform the task. Why else would they mention that? It is to perform the task. State Board of Accounts, Charlie Pride, quoted in the newspaper. It would be my recommendation that the court would decide. So, I'm not your attorney. I obviously have a slight disagreement with your attorney regarding this one issue. And that's, we're attorneys, that's what we do. I understand that, okay? I'm here before you as an elected official, not as an attorney. Okay? We're all elected officials here. We're all trying to do the best thing we can for this city. The whole issue with me and the probation department is that the probation department pays for these employees when they do these activities and chores, these duties. When it's not the probation department doing it, then it's paid for by the taxpayers. People who represent. I'm honored to represent. So that's the basic issue there. Believe me, it's headache, it's work. All right? The majority of the problems I've had the entire time I've been judge have been every time the phone rings, the State Board of Accounts is on the other line, my little belly gets all tense and my back stiffens up, and it's just, you never know. Because it's a huge responsibility, but it's one that I undertake and I don't mind doing, and especially if it helps the city. So, the ordinance, the resolution before us now, I believe that I think that with regard to the probation department fees and collection of user fees, I think it violates that. I would disagree with that, which was not in the agreement when we reached upstairs about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The agreement did not include probation fees. As a matter of fact, there was an agreement that I would collect those, and I didn't know, I was never informed by Ms. Collins or her attorney that the agreement was no longer going to be honored. Ms. Collins, I'm actually willing to honor the agreement we reached upstairs. So,
Yeah, just stay focused on the resolution.
I'm sorry. So, well, the resolution does, like I say, it goes against the agreement that was reached. Other than that, I've really not had the time to review subparagraph 4 here regarding the bank accounts and so forth. I'm willing to do whatever the State Board of Accounts tells me to do. So if I could have some time to let the State Board of Accounts review this, if they say that's the best way to do it, that's the best business practice to do it, then by all means, they can do it. Okay? But I don't know that I have the authority to second guess the State Board of Accounts on certainly on a bank account issue. They've always been happy. I've never had an adverse report. I think every department head has little things here and there within the department that everybody bickers about, but I've never had an adverse report from the State Board of Accounts. I talk to Karen Kelleher at least once every 2 months, if not every month. And so, I don't understand the bank account issue, I'll be honest. I don't know why that's in there. I don't know what's trying to be implied there. I have no idea. However, if the city wants it that way, I don't really know what the effect of that would be. So I would ask Mr. Lewis, who drafted the resolution, what the purpose and intent behind that is. If it has something to do with change the workload, or if it's more responsibility or less responsibility, I have no idea on that issue. The other part regarding the resolution, and I believe Mr. Sassani, you mentioned, or Councilperson Sassani, you mentioned that the issues that were for the council at the meeting, the agreement meeting, was employees and space. Like I said, I'll deal with the space, I believe that's the next resolution. But this resolution doesn't even address the employees, which I think everybody agreed is your all's responsibility. So that confuses me. If we're trying to address everything that's addressed in that meeting that is the council's responsibility here, then where is that? I don't think you all have to go through a resolution to say the city clerk is the clerk of the court. I agree. It's the statute. I kind of try to follow the state statutory laws. I agree she's the clerk of the court. I agree what her duties are. I actually disagree with this resolution. I'm here to tell you that I'm going to follow the state statute. And what I believe the state statute gives me the authority to do. So, once again, with all due respect, I would ask that I would like to ask that someone renew the motion to table it and/or at the very least modify this resolution. My best recommendation to the council would be table it for 2 to 3 weeks. January 1st, I'm telling you right now, that office is cleared out. Okay? And a wall is being built, and a window is being built. Office space collecting $500,000 a year, close to $450,000 to $500,000 a year, right next to the police department. Couldn't be safer, couldn't be better. Okay? That's my promise to you all. Let this sit 2 to 3 weeks. I've already talked earlier on these emotions on the agreement that I intend to honor, and it'll be done. Okay? Any questions?
Judge, do you, if the resolution is passed as the motion's been made, do you intend to comply with the resolution?
I need to talk to see where it counts. Okay. I don't know that there's authority here. I have to ask that question. That's what my concern is. I apologize.
I'm going to request to call a question, but because of what additional discussion, is there anyone willing to modify, change, or withdraw their motion or their second? I'll throw that out there. Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote for those in favor of 2012 R26?
Yes, sir.
26.
Councilperson Payne,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sellers.
Yes.
Councilperson Gill,
Yes.
Councilperson Glover,
Yes.
Council President Zastadny,
No.
Councilperson Julius,
Yes.
Councilperson Owen,
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
No.
6.
All right. Next up, 2012 R27, I guess, right? A resolution for providing office space to the city clerk as clerk of the Jeffersonville City Court.
Yes, this resolution before you was originally drafted by corporate counsel Mr. Lau. That was in a packet a month or so ago, then that was withdrawn without being acted upon. So it's back on the agenda today with the revision, the added clause in the second paragraph regarding the November 20th, 2012 written opinion of the Indiana State Board of Accounts. That's been added to this resolution in stating that the council, also the very last whereas paragraph stating that the council further desires to comply with that written opinion of the Indiana State Board of Accounts. So what this does, it assigns and designates the office space, room 110, located here in City Hall, to the city clerk, in addition to the existing office space that's previously been assigned to the city clerk. So, resolution before you.
And for clarification, statute provides the city council designates space for the city clerk.
Yes, actually, it's cited within the second paragraph, Indiana Code 36-4-10-4, subparagraph 9, and Indiana Code 33-35-3-2-A. Part of that is the city clerk serves as the clerk of the court, but also 36-4-10-2.5 states that the city executive and legislative body shall provide office space for the clerk and the staff and records of that clerk. So that is a statutory duty that's exclusively within our legislative body to assign that space, technically for both city court and city clerk.
You maybe just answered it, Scott. We have the responsibility to provide space for the court, correct?
And city clerk.
And clerk, sure.
Yes, statutorily.
Sure. And so as I read this, we're saying 110, I believe, is across the hall.
Yes.
Now that is the clerk's. Now where are we going to put the court, the judge? because that's our statutory obligation as well. Correct. It's the same office. But the way this reads, it says 110 belongs to the clerk. Am I wrong?
That's what it reads, yes. That was originally drafted in at the direction of the council, and
And I would say the original had a different room number. There was an office, I believe, it's on the first floor next to the police station, the dispatch area. And the original version had that.
well, this is what you sent me, the one that was in yours.
And
Okay.
that was after the meeting where they were going to share space.
And my only point is, assuming this passes, that we have to be in compliance before January 1st, have a place for the court, offices for the judge. So, we need to be aware of that.
Well, since it's going to be the same people working for the same, why can't we just add that it needs to be shared space?
That could be done. I mean, that could be.
It needs to be shared space.
Can we,
There's no way to close.
is there a way to determine the space that's being created with the window and all that?
Since we just gave her
Sole authority.
there doesn't need to be a window or divided up. They can just use that office. So there doesn't need to be, well, I don't see why it can't stay, Ms. Conlon. Is there any reason why you would need more, you wouldn't need his probation, does your probation officers have offices? They would not need those offices?
As far as I'm concerned, the probation officers can keep their same offices.
I mean,
And the office back here in the back, we wouldn't need.
so that would be the judge's office, back there by the police station.
Is there a room number for that?
It was in the original. I'm trying to remember. It was
No, this doesn't address that, so I mean, that's already still, that all changed, so. But this could be amended if you want to put some clause in there about sharing the room 110, that's.
I think it should be addressed some way, because otherwise, the judge can say, well, you didn't give me space.
Right.
And we need to some way meet our duty.
Right.
Any suggestions? I make a motion to table 2012 R27. To what end? Till we have more information. Is there a second?
I feel tabling, though, is going to hinder the clerk's ability to do what we just asked her to do with the last resolution.
Yeah.
Nathan, you visited, you kind of know the outlines of the office, because
I've been there one time, so I don't really know.
I was going to say, we ought to be able to come to some clarification here pretty dang on easy, I would think.
I mean, if some of you still wanted to make a motion to try to pass that, you can amend, you can make an amendment to the language in there to say that the room 110 is to be shared between,
I think we just do that.
yeah.
And then I will second the motion to get the table off the floor, and we'll see what happens with that. Any other discussion? Roll call vote to table. Go ahead and get a roll.
Do you want to wait on Brian?
What do you have the rest of it?
Yeah, totally.
Now let's move along.
Councilperson Payne?
No.
Council Vice President Sellers?
No.
Councilperson Gill? No.
Yes.
Councilperson Julius?
No.
Councilperson Owen?
No.
Councilperson Samuel?
Yes. Could I propose, I'm sorry, I was going to say, that's off the floor, now go ahead and if you want, make amendments or move forward.
We propose, would edit the resolution to say, now therefore be it resolved, number one, the city clerk serving as clerk of Jeffersonville City Court, pro and Navarre, is hereby assigned room 110 in Jeffersonville City Hall, excluding office space designated for probationary
Well, and he also has Stacy. Does she have an office as well?
There's 6 if I may, out of turn address, what originally was going to occur is this essentially was going to be, I'm loud enough, I think. Go ahead. What originally was going to happen was the probation department and the one office assistant was going to be in this room, and then collections were going to take place back there for the city court costs, as well as the other court employee. There was going to be Ms. Collins. That's what was originally going to happen, and then there was going to be a corner in there set out that I was going to cut off for the Mr. Culver recommended to be the chambers, okay? So that's how that was going to work, and I'm fine with that staying the same. If you want to amend this to say that it's a shared space between the two department heads, I suppose that would work as well, but once again,
The reason I have concerns with that is because I know she has to have, I don't know how many files you have. You said that you go through several cases a year. She has to have records to all those. So if they're in a separate office and then they have to walk over to get the records, because I don't think there's going to be room in there to store the files and to keep all the records. That's my concern.
and Mr. Culver assured me that there was space for all that. Like I said, I do not know the spatial numbers or dimensions or anything. I had a guy that's an expert tell me, said, here's where the files are that are currently in use that will need to be dealt with. I said, and here's where the probation files are as well, and we need to have those here. He said, these go back there along this wall, the desks are there, put a window in, and it's perfect. And then you only have so many files at your disposal at any one time because the cases get flipped through so quickly. You only have, maybe there's 3 filing cabinets over there with these files in them. All the rest get closed and they get put to off-site storage. We can't store all the files here anyway. Like I said,
We have some off-site, I know.
right, we have several off-site, and we have one right in here within the so-called quadrangle. I'm sorry, in the quadrangle. So that's how that works. There's really, by comparison, how many files the court has to how many are in this building is very small. And Mr. Colbert, like I said, he assured me. And like I said, all we're looking for, I thought, was a Band-Aid for the next 2 years until the police department's filled. And then, from what I understand, through dialogue with members of the council, here, that once the police department goes, then there's going to be an abundance of space to deal with here. Although I'm sure the city will find a way to fill it up pretty quickly as things work, but that's kind of been what I've been operating.
It's common.
I'm going to address the council. At no time have I ever seen any plans or been part of the remodeling. And I would request that we have share the office space over there, keep the probation officers in there, and the room in the back, if possible. Let the judge and his court reporter be in there.
Make new chambers back here.
Yes, he's already has an office back there.
But that's the office that I was going to put the window and the 2 desks in. But I think I just said that was one of the alternatives that I was willing to accept. Now if you want to I'm putting myself in a court reporter back there at the same time, I don't think that would be very effective at all.
I've never been privy to any of the discussions.
I was told to make the arrangements. I contacted Russ Seagraves. You can contact me.
That's all right.
I think it was agreed that that building room was going to go to Ms. Conlon, wasn't it?
What was your motion, Mayor?
I was just going to add language to say that the space, room 10 would go to the city clerk, excluding the offices currently held by the probationary officers. But
That's fine with me.
but does the judge need more space on that?
Offices back here, you want to
Make for the judge?
But that's already
Well, that's
his.
already his.
We don't
We don't
have
have
to
to
do
touch it.
anything with that.
Okay.
That would, with regard to the probation staff, there still leaves one employee left anyway that I need to provide space for.
Okay.
And it's common practice that the chambers is there for a reason when you meet in privacy with other counsel and other for cases and like that. I was fine. The chambers I was going to build over here is actually smaller than this one anyway. I don't care about the space wise. It's just there needs to be a separate space. I never agree with that.
Are you able to put a wall in there or a door?
I talked to Hal about that, and that's it kind of
Your other
binds a little
employee,
bit.
your other employee that's here now, that's not at the probation stop, does that employee have a space now?
Yes,
An
sir.
office now, or?
For space.
Yeah, that's what I think, a shared space resolution would be, that would be...
Yeah, just let all his people keep their same space.
That's what you said, they
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay. Make the motion if that's the case.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you put two people in a room and say, it's your room. We're being thrust in the middle of something now that I don't think we should be in the middle of. And then I can just see it saying, no, the desk needs to go on that side for me, the desk, no, that you walked across my corner. I just,
Scott, can we,
You know.
this has to be done by
I'm gonna tie
January.
it up.
Can we not do this, and if there's problems, come back and amend it?
Versus 2012.
I know, but
But the time is of the essence, because the longer we go, then everybody's out of compliance with state law. So-
But can we go, if we go ahead and do this now, to get it done, and if there's problems, then we can just revisit this.
Absolutely. Any time to reassign space and revise and modify it due to whatever circumstances may arise, that can always be done and brought back before the council. That's our discretion and authority. So,
And let me interject briefly. The stuff January 1st this last year, I had nothing to do with that, guys. I was approached about the issue and said, that's right, she's the clerk, but I don't know how you want me to help you out. So any of these delays, if we want to attribute this delay for a whole year to...
Motion, you guys keep going, let's hear the the motion would be to approve Resolution 2012 R27 with the following amendment. Under, now therefore resolved, number 1, should read, the city clerk serving as the clerk of Jeffersonville City Court per Indiana law is hereby assigned room 110 in the Jeffersonville City Hall, with the exception to space already occupied by probationary officers. And what's your other employee, what's her designation? I'm sorry?
Court bailiff,
And the court bailiff.
which, that's another issue, the salary statute ordinances, the names are different, so. City bailiff or court reporter is fine.
and real quick, we can't take any action on the salary ordinance for 2013 until January.
I understand.
Okay. So is that the motion?
That is the motion. In addition,
Now, I was just going to record that I, once again, disagree with this motion for both individuals, because we're still bringing money into an area where there's going to be different people under different control working, which I think is dangerous. But in the effort, in the interest of compromise, this is, as much as you're willing to offer, then I think I have to take it. But that's, I want to make sure I'm very clear about that. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Is that the motion?
yes.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
All right, motion second to pass Resolution 2012, is it 27?
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Because some things, Ms. Conlon, you understand the resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
You
I
got
sure
it?
do.
Any other discussion? Go ahead and do a roll call vote with it.
Sure. Councilperson Payne.
Yes.
Council Vice President Sellers. Yes. Councilperson Gill. Yes. Councilperson Glover.
Yes.
Council President Sestovny.
No.
Councilperson Julius.
Yes.
Councilperson Owen.
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
No. All right, next up, Resolution 2012, this would be R28, a resolution of the Common Council regarding the approval of the issuance of bonds by the Jeffersonville, Clarksville Flood Control District.
And just spoke to Mr. Merkley, he's on his way back down from upstairs, and I think he can address this a little bit further, as I have to be in circuit court in 16 minutes with Judge Pierce on his lawsuit, so. I will just address a couple of things. There are, I believe, 3 instances on the resolution where it refers to clerk treasurer. That should be amended just to read clerk rather than clerk treasurer, and that's just a typographical thing. This was prepared by Barnes and Thornburg, who's bond counsel for the Jeffersonville-Clarksville Flood Control District. And This is to issue bonds in an amount not to exceed $7.5 million. This is for the construction of 2 new flood control stations, one at Cane Run, one at Mill Creek. No, it's okay, I gotta be in court in 15 minutes, so I was just doing a little soft shoe until you got here. I was involved at the beginning of the year with this project. It's one that's was begun under the previous administration. It's sorely needed. It does require the city council's approval, and Les can explain why. I appreciate your time.
I emailed the council regarding why this has to come before you, as by state statute, the flood control district requires, before they can do the bond issue to do those pump station, which is $7.5 million, it requires the approval of both Clarksville Town Board and Jeffersonville City Council to give its blessing to issue those bonds before they can move forward to close on them. Clarksville's already has approved, passed a resolution just like the one that's in front of you. You're not committed to pay, you're not committing the city to pay the bond. It's now, I mean, the bottom line is, I will tell you that I emailed Ed, I think everyone was copied. I mean, if you live within inside the flood control district, yeah, I mean, you're going to see an increase in taxes, and I can tell you what the average will be. For residential property, it will be on an average $23 per year per $100,000 assessed value, and for commercial property,
I'm sorry, Les?
for $100,000 of assessed value. On residential, that's $23 per year, and the impact on commercial property per $100,000 of assessed value is $71 per year.
Was it just the...
Per 100,000?
Yes,
Les, how come the mayor didn't support this?
because of the tax increase. I'm coming before you as the legal counsel for the flood control.
So this affects,
I'm sorry.
this affects our 10th Street pumping station?
Yes.
Because it pushes the water up, and the mayor's also on the sewer board. Was this brought before the sewer board?
I believe it was brought before the sewer board. I mean, I know JTL, I know JTL.
was explaining to the sewer board how this was in conjunction with...
Really, there needs to be work on, there needs to be 2 new pump stations, but the flood control cannot withstand to spend that much money at one time, so we're going to do 1 pump station, and right now they've hired an engineering firm, an outside engineering firm that has not been involved in this project at all, to look at which pump station they should do first and what exactly the extent of the pump station should be.
Aside from the mayor not voting because of taxes, does he not think this needs to be done?
You'd have to ask him.
Does this have to be passed this year?
Well, I mean, we can't close it.
I say we hold it until we get the mayor to say,
Second.
you got a second.
We have a motion and second to table this resolution. Any other discussion? I have a question. Well, never mind. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye.
Should I ask your question?
Good about it. Was there any public comment? Anybody signed the sheet for public comment?
No one signed.
Council comment. Mr. Payne. Sarge. Ms. Good.
Nothing.
Well, nothing. Thank you. Happy New Year. So, let's go to lunch. Mr. Samuel, no? Meeting is adjourned.